Welcome back to the marketplace. In our first story, prices of petroleum products should have witnessed some significant increase from the middle of this month. Diesel and petrol should have gone up by more than 5%. But why have the over 100 oil marketing firms held prices unchanged at a time that margins are dwindling? George Yafe has more.
Joy Business understands that the reason why the expected adjustment did not happen was due to Gold's decision not to review its prices. This is because most of the players in the industry were all waiting for the expected increases to be done by the market leader before they also follow. However, persons close to Gold had argued that they didn't think that the current price dynamics warrant an increase, hence their decision to hold on to prices. Some of the other oil marketing firms have told Joy Business that increasing prices at the pumps at that time would not be wise if oil is not moving. Some of the oil marketing firms have argued that the move by the market leader is hurting the operations, especially when it is obvious that prices should be going up at the pumps. But a source close to Gold have also indicated that they could be reviewing prices at the beginning of next month. It is not clear for now what will be their direction. Some industry players have argued that even though this could be benefiting consumers now, in the long term, it would not be good for the industry. Under the current price deregulation policy, prices are expected to be reviewed at the pumps every 2 weeks, depending on developments on the world market in terms of price of finished products, cost of transportation, inflation, and how the Ghana cedi is faring against the US dollar.
Well, joining me with more on this is analyst with the Institute for Energy Security, Raymond Nuwakwa. Thanks for being with us this afternoon, Raymond. So the oil marketing firms are holding their prices despite margins dwindling. Help us understand what is at play.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. As at last window, prices on the international market went up marginally. However, because some of the OMCs they got at a very reduced price, they were unable, or the market dictates that did not increase prices. So that's basically the reason why they couldn't increase prices as the window that we are in, that is ending today. However, at Institute for Energy Security, we see prices going up starting from Monday when the new window starts effectively.
Tell us a bit more about what factors are at play right now concerning the next pricing window and the expectations that prices are going to go up.
Well, thank you very much. As you know, as now, prices on the international market are hovering around the 35 margin, which before this current window, prices were even below 20 as a point in time. We also know that some of the major world economies are easing restriction. Now, talk about India, Saudi Arabia, China, even America and the UK. They are easing restrictions. So there is a demand for crude products like diesel and gas oil, and even jet fuel. These are all increasing demand for crude products. Therefore, prices are going up on the international market. These are the reasons, the major reasons why we are seeing a rising prices in the next window, which will start effectively on Monday.
We expect that the next price window, the OMCs would increase prices, because if you listen to that report, the reason they are holding prices is because one leader has decided that it will not increase the price. Okay,
so that's partly true. As we know, on the local market, Gold is the market leader. However, the point must be made that the oil marketing companies got a lot of their stock during the period where prices are very low. So it will be untenable, or it will not make a lot of reasons for them to increase prices as of the previous window. So that's another reason, in addition to the market leader not increasing prices.
Great. You know, before this, you're talking about what is happening globally. Globally, we are seeing oil prices rebound as countries ease restrictions. Is that to say the worst is over for the oil market?
Yes. The worst for the producers, we can say, is getting to a level that they will appreciate, especially those that have a low cost of production. But for the Americans that have their cost of production at the level of 40, the West is not over yet. And also, we know that this kind of revamp is basically due to the supply side because of the cuts in production of crude oil by the OPEC and OPEC Plus and the shutting wars in America. We are hopeful that this continual reduction in production of crude oil will continue to the end of the year so that we can balance the demand and the supply side to see prices going up for the producers. However, it's not good news for the consumer.
Okay, Raymond, we'll keep monitoring what is happening on the oil market and probably have an update tomorrow on the situation. Thanks very much for your perspective this afternoon. And as you heard Raymond indicate, we expect prices to increase, price of fuel products to increase in the next pricing window. It looks like not all the oil marketing companies or the oil marketing companies cannot hold prices for that long. Turning to other news now, Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayakoboche says African countries are working to ensure effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Delivering a statement on the floor of Parliament, the minister said despite the setbacks due to the pandemic, member states are working around the clock to meet the July 1 takeoff date.
Countries are applying technology and innovation to unleash great potentials for its development, as well as to address the challenges of climate change. African economies are also becoming integrated with the coming into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Mr. Speaker, one of the cardinal objectives of African leaders in 2020 has been to operationalize the African Continental Free Trade Agreement by establishing the Secretariat in Accra at the end of March 2020 and to begin continental trade by 1st July 2020. The AFCFTA is expected to bring tremendous benefits to the continent, including enhanced continental trade, factor market integration, and also attract investment for sustained economic growth to facilitate the creation of the badly needed job opportunities for the continent. The enhanced trade relations and growth from this initiative is estimated by the UN's Economic Commission for Africa to be about 52% over current levels and to generate a collective GDP of 2.5 trillion for Africa, making the continent the 8th largest economy in the world.
Well, so how workable is this? Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, Emmanuel Donikwame, joins me to discuss. Great to have you on the program, sir. So is it a great idea that African countries want to go ahead with the Continental Free Trade Agreement despite the fact that we are battling a pandemic?
It's an ongoing process, and I understand the recommendation of the AFCFTA Secretariat to the AU Assembly of Heads of State was that as a result of the pandemic, there's the need for some technical work to be done, and then we need to save lives, and we also need to save livelihoods. So for any meaningful trade to be undertaken, there's the need for the date to be rescheduled. And that's the date for trading. And I think the recommended date was 1st January 2021. But this is an ongoing process. Negotiations are still ongoing. And then since negotiations can also be done virtually, the only challenge is they need to do that with in 4 different languages and different time zones, and it also comes with its own challenges. Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding is that according to plan, the trading was supposed to start on the 1st of January next year. So between July 1st and that period, what really happens per your understanding?
The technical work, it's it's not that easy. It involves a lot of negotiations, as I mentioned earlier. And I understand some negotiations have not concluded yet. And previously, they might have to travel to meet. Now they have to do these things virtually. So the process is still ongoing. The regional blocks have been active for many years. And then we could still work with the regional blocks to make sure we establish regional value chains, and then we create corridors for us to contain the impact of COVID for now.
The foreign minister was talking about potential hurdles African countries have to tackle at this point. What do you think are some of the hurdles they have to tackle if they really want to see this come to fruition?
I guess we left with 20 countries to ratify the agreement, but the key success will be for them to agree on the protocols to do with dispute resolution, dispute settlement. That would be the biggest success of the AFCFTA. If that one is addressed, the states, the various countries agree on what will constitute the protocols on dispute settlement, because you need to attract investment, and that will be key. People want to know, in case of any disputes, what will be the guiding principles for people to join their money in any country. So those are the things that need to be done. But we need to keep up the momentum, because the biggest stimulus package for us is the AFCFTA. We really don't have enough millions to give out to SMEs or to companies. But we believe our integration will be, the success of our integration will be the biggest stimulus package post-COVID.
It's interesting you mentioned that the biggest stimulus package for businesses is the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So there are indications of an economic recession because of COVID-19. So how vital will this free trade agreement be in cushioning economies, businesses on the continent battered by this crisis?
We need to more or less increase intra-African trade, and that's always been the message since our independence and since most countries got independent, and it led to the creation of the various regional blocks such as ECOWAS. ECOWAS has done its bit, but it's been moving at a very slow pace. So we more or less fast-tracked the whole regional block thing by going straight to have an Africa agenda instead of, but that notwithstanding, the regional blocks are still doing their work. COVID is restricted movement of people, and we believe as a first step is to create corridors to allow for transit goods to at least move freely. More or less also reduce tariffs on, on essential goods, mostly food and medics. And then also commit to saving SMEs. And then we also need to invest in digital infrastructure. The COVID pandemic has brought to the fore the need for investment in digital infrastructure, whether we like it or not. If people cannot move, at least we can interact, and then we can make payments using mobile money and others. And then we also need to prioritize trade facilitation reforms, as is being done at the ports now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your perspective this afternoon. That was Emmanuel Donikwame. He is Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, Ghana, speaking with us on plans for the takeoff of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement on the 1st of July. Now, back home, the National Board for Small-Scale Industries has warned the public against fraudsters parading as its business advisory service staff and duping unsuspecting Ghanaian businesses by collecting money from them under the guise of registering them to access the 600 million Ghana stimulus. Now, Deputy Director of the NBSSI, Anna Amohimson, told Roland Walker on the AM show the security agencies have been informed about the operations of the miscreants and will be swiftly prosecuted once they are arrested.
Once the application is assessed and you are successful, you still get the SMS telling you that your application has been successful, is being assessed, so that eventually, depending on whether the loan is approved or not, you still get a message. And then it also indicates where you have to, really go for the loan. But through the application process, you indicate where your bank account is. So then, if those banks are one of the PFIs, then you can just go there and pick up your loan. So our attention has been brought to the fact that a lot of people are going around with printed forms, assuring people that they can help them to really access the funds. And they take all kinds of, money from these people. We are really cautioning that any applicant doesn't have to pay any money to anybody. One of the criteria was for people to become clients of MBSSI. So we are doing a lot of registration. But even for that one, we waived the fee. We don't want that impression created that you need to really pay before you get the loan. So we have waived our fee for June and July, so that people can freely register and do what they want to do, so they can really access the funds.
So out of the 1.2 billion cedis earmarked for the program, 600 million cedis will be disbursed as soft loans to micro, small and medium enterprises with up to a 1-year moratorium and a 2-year repayment period. Meanwhile, the MBSSI has been laying out ground rules for acquisition of a stimulus package at a virtual seminar hosted by the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That's where my colleague Charles Aite is. He joins me with more. So Charles, the MBSSI is saying if you apply, it doesn't guarantee you would get the loan. Tell us more.
Yeah, so what we're gathering from today's webinar is the fact that, yes, we have had the applications come in, but there's just a whole process. So you have to verify the various claims by most of these companies and also ensure that they are in good standing, which means that they would have to have 10 numbers, they would have to be in good standing with the GRA, and the various things that they are selling or marketing must be in great use for the consumption of the Ghanaian public. Already, we're also gathering that the entire system is being kind of facing challenges with regards to some fraudsters who are demanding money for most of these SMEs as well. And this is part of measures that the MBSSI is putting together to arrest the situation in due time.
Of Commerce and Industry, at their last webinar, talked about the fact that they felt that the money was inadequate. Did this come up again?
Exactly, it did come up, and we're learning that, of course, initially it was a 600 million cedi stimulus package, but now we're looking at some banking facilities offering 400 million cedis in addition. So when you combine both sources, we're getting 1 billion cedi stimulus package for most of these SMEs, of which the Chamber is saying is in good faith.
Okay, Charles Aite, thank you so much for the update from the virtual seminar held by the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We'll bring you more from there in our subsequent bulletins.